Hi, this is Andre, and thanks for checking out Synthisophy. Synthisophy is integrating the wisdoms of history based on fact and truth into present culture. Let's take a look at Chapter 3, Cognitive Bias. What is cognitive bias? A cognitive bias refers to a shortcut in mental thinking and decision-making whereby inferences about other people and situations may be drawn in a somewhat illogical and rash fashion, but may still be highly effective in the evolutionary survival of our species. People create their own subjective reality from their perceptions of their environmental surroundings and social input. Cognitive biases can be highly useful in certain contexts, in many contexts actually, particularly those that require quick decision-making when timeliness is more important than accuracy. Cognitive biases are thought to be the result of the brain's limited capacity for information processing. So the brain has evolutionarily developed these mental shortcuts, also called heuristics, for us to interpret and understand the world around us. These cognitive biases must have been successful because, as mentioned in Chapter 2, we are now the only surviving human species on the planet. Here's some more information on cognitive bias. Cognitive bias is a systematic pattern of deviation from rationality and judgment. Individuals create their own subjective social reality from their perception of the input around them. An individual's construction of social reality, not the objective input, may dictate their behavior in the social world. Thus, cognitive biases may sometimes lead to inaccurate judgment, illogical interpretation and stereotyping, is when we assign something to a particular category or class, especially in a manner that is too rigid or exclusive and fails to reflect actual complexities. I don't know about you, but I find myself doing that every now and again. It's only human, and the world is a pretty complex place. Some cognitive biases may be adaptive. Cognitive biases may lead to more effective actions in a given context. Also, cognitive biases enable faster decisions when timeliness is more valuable than accuracy. Other cognitive biases are a byproduct of the limitation of human processing that results from a lack of appropriate mental mechanisms, called bounded rationality, or simply put, from our limited capacity for instant mega information processing. A continually evolving list of cognitive biases has been identified over the last 6 decades of research on human judgment and decision-making in cognitive science, social psychology, and behavioral economics. Scientists argue that the cognitive biases have efficient practical implications for areas including clinical judgment, entrepreneurship, finance, and management, and as I'll detail later, the survival of the human species. Note that this is a general description of the cognitive bias. To get a more detailed look at the concept of cognitive bias, there's the Cognitive Bias Codex, or the Cognitive Bias Code. This Cognitive Bias Code was created by hundreds of social scientists looking over data over the last 70 years. Note in this Cognitive Bias Code, there are over 200 ways that we can bias our interpretation. Let's take a general look at the 4 different areas of cognitive bias. First area over here, we'll look at too much information. Have you ever been in a situation where there's too much stimulus, too many variables? What do we do in that kind of context? We are drawn to details that confirm our existing viewpoints and beliefs. Second area, not enough meaning. We're in a context in a situation you're a little bit out of water, a little bit uncomfortable, don't have enough information. What do we do there? We fill in characteristics from stereotypes, generalities, and prior histories. Over here, need to act fast. Another way of saying the fight or flight response. Certain emergency situations pop up. What do? Do you confront the situation or do you split? Fourth area, what should we remember? That's a variation of too much information. In this time, in this area where there are billions of information pieces, we can't possibly hold it all together. What do? We discard specifics to form generalities. Nothing wrong with that. This is how our brain developed. this is obviously what works. So here, there are over 200 ways that we can bias our interpretation. Note also that most of the time we have our act together and our perceptions are pretty much spot on. But remember the hot and cold water test? Spot on might not always be the case. And where is this all taking place? In our brain.